Okay, I'm now being joined from our Lagos studios by Zoera Youssoufou. She's the Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer of the Aliko Dangote Foundation. She's live from our Lagos studios, like I said. Good evening, Zoera, if you hear me very clearly, and welcome to News Night.
Thank you so much, Christian. Good evening.
Yeah, good evening. I mean, this is a very massive educational project that the Aliko Dangote Foundation is embarking on, worth over 1 trillion naira, right?
Absolutely. So the cumulative expense over the next 10 years is expected to be 1 trillion naira. So we're starting off in 2026 with 45,000 students, 30,000 in university, 5,000 in TVET, 10,000 girls in secondary school, and we'll ramp that up so that by year 4, we're taking in 155,000 students a year. And so when we add up the cost of managing them and doing the teacher training program that will go with that, we end up with 1 trillion naira over 10 years. So that's the commitment that Alhaji Aliko has made for education in Nigeria.
Indeed, I mean, laudable, but let's look at the modalities of how you're going to expend 100 billion naira annually for 45 students. Can you break it down for us? Are you starting from primary school where the Minister of Education of the government is, struck off the use of indigenous language or languages as a medium of instruction for children from primary 1 to 6? Is it going to be sponsorship or scholarship for secondary school students or just tertiary education? Because what I saw in your operational notes there is STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Nothing for even those who are physically challenged and the rest.
So we've looked at where we thought we would have the biggest impact in terms of what we need in the country. And really the big gap that we have is really around technology, engineering, and all the scientific advancement that we need to compete in this world that we're in today. So that's why the university focus is on STEM students. So imagine that there's 3 levels of interventions that we're doing. The one with the biggest number is the university students. So university students that are focused on STEM topics, so, science, technology, math, engineering, those students, we will be supporting 30,000 of them a year in federal and state universities across the country. And then we also have the technical levels, so the Aliko Dangote technical scholars, and these are students that are in polytechnics and doing TVET studies. So everything that's technical, technology related. I saw you had a clip earlier of some work that we've done with VDMA. So we started doing this, but on a much smaller scale. So now we're trying to ramp that up to 5,000 students a year. And then the third level where we're intervening is specifically secondary school girls. So from JS1 to SS3, we'll be taking in 10,000 of them a year, starting with federal government colleges across the country. Now, we want our impact to be felt across Nigeria, so across all 774 local government areas. So we have a formula where we're looking at the percentage of out-of-school children, the number of LGAs in each state, and coming up with a breakdown where we'll know how many girls for secondary school in each LGA, how many STEM students, and how many university students. The reason why we're doing this with existing structures, such as NEL Fund, who will help us disperse the funds directly into the institutions and then give the stipend to the students using their bank accounts and their NIN numbers and BVNs, et cetera, is we want to make sure that we're not reinventing an existing wheel that works. So we're working with all the existing systems where we manage students right now, right? WAEC is how we figure out what grades people are at, what level they've reached, how did they score on the exams. JAM, the same, NBT, NECO. So really using the existing system in Nigeria to just get more students access to education is really the goal. One of the questions, Christian, that I've gotten so many times is how are you going to make sure that it gets to the actual beneficiaries that you're looking for? And what we've done this before, like when we've distributed rice or when we've done micro grants, we've gone down to the community level, to the ward level, inside of the local government area. And so we're used to dealing with communities and doing our work at the grassroots level. So literally, we will be working with the states and with the local government to identify the best students who are also needy. Within that, we've made provisions for physically challenged students. We've already supported many of them. We have a couple that are working in the company right now inside Dangote. But to be more systematic about picking and giving access to students that are typically disadvantaged. And that's also why we have a 50% focus for girls within the TVET and the university levels, because we want to make sure that we even the playing field.
Okay, great. I mean, the analysis there. But let's look at 45,000 students, both secondary and tertiary institutions, right? How many numbers of teachers do you hope to train and retrain from secondary schools, in the universities?
Okay. Yes. Yes, so the teacher training program, which is the fourth component of this education scheme, is really teacher training specifically at the secondary school level. That's where we found, and this is not us saying it, but this is where the analysis has shown us that the biggest gap in teacher training is in that secondary school level. So we'll start there with 10,000 teachers that we will train to specifically train the girls that are doing STEM in the federal government schools that we've picked. So the 10,000 girls will have teachers that have been freshly trained and retrained specifically within STEM. And then we will expand this program going forward. Obviously, this projection is, 10 years is a long way to project things out. And so, Alhaji has been saying over and over, look, we will revisit this after 5 years, most likely upwards, to make sure that we're really having the impact that we're trying to have.
So my final question will be, is the scholarship, for 45,000 Nigerian students, is it localized or is it going to be internationalized?
So this is a scholarship program for students in Nigeria that are specifically going to federal and state universities. So the scholarship doesn't apply to private universities, and it also doesn't apply to people wanting to go abroad to study. We're looking to strengthen and encourage the current system that we have in Nigeria. I think that the universities themselves being guaranteed a certain number of students coming in whose tuition will be paid on time will allow them to make some of the investments that they haven't been able to make on a regular basis right now. So we can't fix everything at once. We're trying to fix this one student at a time. And so the goal is really, how do we empower students to go to school? So the partnership with NELFund is what's going to allow us to pay their tuition and their fees directly to the university, and then the stipend that we'll give them will be sent directly to them. So we're paying exactly what it costs within each university and each polytechnic. It's not like a flat number for everybody. Some universities are more expensive than others. Some programs of study are more expensive than others. So we just want to make sure that we're paying exactly what the university is saying that their fees are.
All right, no better place to end the conversation. Thanks so very much, Zoera Youssoufou, She's the Managing Director, Chief Executive Officer of the Aliko Dangote Foundation that has that will be throwing in over 1 trillion naira in the next 10 years in whether regenerating or rejuvenating the Nigeria's education system through the granting of 45,000 scholarships. Thanks very much for coming on Newsnight.